Good morning, everybody. It's Steve Brown from Mirae Asset Securities, Mirae Asset Live. Joining us this morning, we have Mr. Samresh Kumar, who's the CEO and Chair of SKYXSOLAR, exciting energy development business with Vina Capital and EDF Renewables as some of the principal backers. Samresh, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Stephen.
Thank you. We've known each other for approaching 10 years now. I first met you when you were working at Vina Capital. Would you like to just give us a little bit of background, introducing yourself and also SKYX?
Sure. At MASconnect Group.
At MASconnect, yes, even before.
Yes. So, I've been working for the last 20 odd years in investment banking, private equity, consulting and business building. Last 12 years has been in Vietnam. I started SKYXSOLAR within Vina Capital Group around 3 years back. And as the chairman and CEO, I'm very excited to build together, more solar power systems together with my team here. SKYXSOLAR is a rooftop solar developer. We partner with industrial and commercial customers, lease their roofs, and we build the power systems on their roof. We provide a zero capex, zero opex solution to them, and in return they start saving tons of money. We currently have around 60 megawatts of rooftop solar systems under operation or construction, and I intend to add a few hundred megawatts in the next 2 to 3 years.
So to stay on that extension 3 to 5 years, where do you see the client type and also the development of the solar power industry over the next 3 to 5 years?
Sure. So, if we look backwards to see how the industry has developed in Vietnam, it's been a stupendous growth, right? From 0 megawatts of capacity in 2018, now Vietnam has more than 20,000 megawatts, making it the largest solar power producer in Southeast Asia. Have we reached near to the potential? Not at all, right? When we break down the solar power sector, I think we'll have to look at the rooftop solar and the solar farm separately. Within the rooftop solar space, according to our calculations, less than 5% of the investable roof on the industries has been, utilized to build solar systems. So there is a potential of around 20,000 megawatts of rooftop solar power systems to be built, and that is aided by the fact that Vietnam is the new factory of the world. More and more factories, industrial parks are getting built in the country, and factories have empty roofs, and we monetize those empty roofs and convert that into green power. So rooftop solar system power potential significant. When we look at the ground mounted solar farms, right, again the potential is large, but one is waiting for the supporting regulation from the government to be out, especially regarding direct PPA and the auction mechanism, which we expect probably the government will come out in Q4 2022 or Q1 2023. So again, because the irradiation is high in Vietnam, the potential of solar farms is also there, but there are significant near-term challenges, especially in the regulatory and technical side, which needs to be overcome to get that.
Okay. Now, the typical client type, you mentioned industrial park roofs. I'm also thinking school roofs, hospital roofs, airport roofs. They would be, I would imagine, strategic potential targets moving forward. What's your typical solution for all of your target types and the existing clients?
Right, sure. So whenever I see roofs, I see an opportunity to convert that into a rooftop solar power system and save money, and then do a positive impact on the environment. Now, schools, hospitals are possible. The challenge is the size of the roofs, right? It's not as big. We can still build it. But also some of the schools, the electricity is already subsidized by the government. So sometimes it doesn't make, commercial sense, right? But for industrial customers, because there are so many factories which have big factories, right? So we can build 1, 2, 5, even 10 megawatts in a few factories. So I want to scale this up faster. So that is why we see, in terms of priority, our first priority is large companies with large factories which have larger roofs. And we are looking at customers in the south, central and north of Vietnam. So even though the irradiation is slightly less in the north, we can still offer discounts to the power purchase price to northern clients.
And what differentiates you to your competitors out there? I know Vina Capital quite well, and they have, and yourself, incredible networks at multiple levels, government, semi-government authority, industrial park players. Your key competitive advantages?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great question, Stephen. The sector is nascent but very competitive. And we saw that in 2020, there were around 40-50 companies in this space. And I expected that because of the regulation. But a lot of the companies were short-term focused. And now we have few very deep-pocketed long-term investors. So it's still cutthroat, but the remaining ones are serious ones. There are around 5, I would think. What differentiates us from the competition? There are a few things. One, as I tell this to our clients as well, we combine the strengths of a purely international company, which is adherence to strong corporate governance, adherence to very high quality, adherence to strong HSE standards, but also combining it with the strengths of a purely local company. We are agile, all our management team is based here. We understand the regulatory risks and categorize it accordingly, and then have the right mitigants for it. And this we can do because of our shareholding and because of our background. I think that's one of the key differentiators. Second, we are deep because of our 2 shareholders, Vina Capital and EDF Renewables. We are deep-pocketed. So, we invest our own capital, continue building it. If a client wants to develop more, we can. We don't need to wait and then go and raise, the capital for that. Third, I think is very important is in our team, we have a very strong technical and commercial team. So rooftop solar power systems are very techno-commercial. So we can offer some of the best techno-commercial solutions to our clients. I think that's what differentiates us.
Okay. And then the government's committed to net zero by 2050 or before. And also there's a few banks, global banks like HSBC now, who are committed to helping deliver net zero by 2050 or before in Vietnam.
Yes.
The SKYXSOLAR component in there, you are looking at helping obviously deliver the net zero outcome. Where do you see the percentage of solar energy now and versus fossil fuels, and where do you see it in the future? Do you think it'll happen before 2050, where there'll be a majority of energy derived from renewables?
Sure. So when we break down the energy supply of Vietnam at the moment, right, in terms of units of energy, not megawatt, so around 50% of the energy supply as we speak is supplied by coal power, 30% by hydro, around 10% by gas, and the remaining 10% by wind and solar. Very recently, the Honorable Prime Minister of Vietnam announced that, Vietnam will have a target of net zero by 2050. I think that was very heartening to hear. Is that aggressive target? Yes, it is. Is that achievable? Definitely it's achievable. But what that means is, a lot of the new power supply which has to come into solar and wind and LNG based, right? But additional power supply has to come to replace the coal-fired power supply. So one can imagine there are hundreds of billions of dollars which needs to be invested in renewable energy. So what it needs is a supporting policy, and I'm very confident that Vietnam can achieve it by 2050. But there's a lot of work to be done, and at SKYX and our shareholders Vina Capital and EDF Renewables, we are working hard to add more capacity in that space, and I'm confident that in the next few years we will add few thousand megawatts amongst the three of us.
Now, you've got a good grounding at your previous places of employ in M&A, investment banking and private equity. So the next question is M&A and roll-up and consolidation potential of the sector. You mentioned at the start about 50 plus people jumped in to get into the business sector. It's now starting to mature and consolidate. Where's SKYXSOLAR positioned in the M&A space here? Because I would imagine some of the early players would have got some good rooftop installations signed off, and you might want to acquire those. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of the solar power capacity which was built in 2020 was built to sell, right? And with my background in investments, private equity, of course, I look at M&A opportunistically as well. There are a few challenges to successfully execute this, right? One is when these systems are built to sell, then sometimes the technical qualities are not so great, and the margins in this business is very small. So the margin of error is very small, right? And if there is some bad quality when it is built, then it's very difficult for us to buy. Second, when we do diligence, we find a lot of the contracts which have been signed are non-bankable. So because we take a 20-year risk, we have to ensure that those contracts are bankable, right? And a lot of the times the commercial expectations of the sellers are something where there's no juice left for a new buyer, right? So I look at M&A within the rooftop solar space opportunistically. We would look at it, but
it's not your main focus.
Not the main focus, especially if there is a portfolio which is at least 10 megawatts and which can add more greenfield capacity for us. Those are the ones which we are interested in.
Okay, and with the international expansion possibilities of SKYXSOLAR, some companies in Vietnam, like Vinamilk, they've moved to Cambodia, going to Laos and elsewhere. Do you see the potential for SKYXSOLAR to go ASEAN regional, particularly neighborly like Laos and Cambodia, with your technology and your business model?
Yeah. So, we are part of EDF and Vina. EDF has business in Southeast Asia, and they're expanding, especially in Indonesia and so on. So as a shareholder, we would. But from SKYX, I'm super focused right now in building out in Vietnam. I see that there is immense potential in the country for us to be focused on in the next 2-3 years. And we are well positioned in Vietnam to take advantage of that opportunity. But having said that, there are clients which we discuss with where, like as you said, Vinamilk, that's not a client, but just to give you an example, if a company has factories in Vietnam and in Cambodia, and they want us to build rooftop solar system, not just for Vietnam, but for the Cambodian factory, those cases, yeah, we consider looking at.
Okay, and if any institutional investors were expressing interest to get into SKYXSOLAR, is this something that SKYXSOLAR is presently entertaining, or is the shareholder structure and business structure presently something that is set at the minute, or can they invest in through any funds such as through Vina Capital or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is a very capital intensive business, right? Because we invest our own money, own and operate the systems, and if we develop few hundred megawatts, it requires continuous capital. Right now, with Vina Capital and EDF as shareholders, we are well capitalized to build it out. But we continue to discuss with the right investors. So either, we could do a joint venture, and then, we could invest in new capacities, or Veena Capital is, there are multiple funds which it works on. So there are avenues where, they could work with Veena to participate in this growth. Towards the end of the year or early next year, we would look at refinancing our debt and raising more project finance. So maybe that's a time where we would look at, debt. But yeah, I mean, if there is...
Do you think you'd ever issue a convertible bond?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe towards the end of the year or early next year, yeah.
Well, that would probably have a lot of investor interest. So make sure you keep us appraised of that.
Sure.
On a personal note, you've got an interesting story. You've been in Vietnam for over a decade now. What are your most interesting aspects of living in Vietnam, and how have you seen the potential of the country, the economy expanding as it is, capital markets becoming more open and sophisticated? Your thoughts on everything moving forward?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love living and working here, right? It's been 12 years when I first moved here, and I don't think I'm going away anytime soon. And I've enjoyed working here, and I think the country has given me so much as well, that in fact I consider myself half Vietnamese, half Indian, to be honest. In terms of the potential of the country, it's immense. It has grown stupendously in the last 10 years. We've seen it here, but I believe the country has just got started. We see immense amount of FII and FDI investments coming in. And especially, even during the COVID time, it was handled very well, I would say, given the circumstances. And more companies, countries are taking note of it, and more investments are happening here. So I'm very, very, very bullish on Vietnam in the next few years.
And a lot of people are recognizing you, rewarding you for your efforts in the energy sector. You won the Entrepreneur of the Year in Clean Energy Sector Award by Solar Quarter. That must have been quite a competitive thing to win. If you were talking about up to 50 players just in Vietnam, there's a lot of solar and renewable energy going on throughout ASEAN at the moment. So congratulations on that too.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think it's a combination of the team delivering and so on. One of my core beliefs professionally is the ruthless execution, because high quality execution, I believe, is way more important than strategy, and that is what I push for in my company, and I'm very proud of the team as well as pushes for it.
Lastly, from a technological point of view, the photovoltaic solar panels, have you seen, like, microchip processor exponential sophistication? Have you seen that in the solar panels that you've been installing from a few years ago to today, their efficacy and output? Is it becoming like quantum levels of improvement there?
Oh, tremendous. So what has happened in the last 8 to 10 years is there's been an immense development on the technology aspect, right? And that is why the panel prices have gone down by 90% in the last 8 years. And when the panel prices went down actually around 3 years back to a level where it became commercially attractive for mass adoption without any government support. So that is why now we can offer these discounts without any government support, and it is commercially attractive. Going forward, I don't think the prices will go down a lot because it has gone down significantly. What we are seeing now is in the battery space. So the battery space, the power prices have gone down by, the production of battery prices have gone down by 20-30%, but in the next 2 years, again, it will go down another 30%. And that's when, again, it will lead to a mass adoption of batteries.
Yeah. And so your margins will improve, profitability improve?
No, because what happens is transfer that savings in our cost to our clients. So if our cost structure goes down, we will give higher discounts to our customers.
Very good. Samresh, Kumar, thank you for joining Mirae Asset Securities, Mirae Asset Live, and it'll be a pleasure to have you on when you're contemplating talking about some M&A or further business expansion, refinance, convertible bond issue possibility for investors. And thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Steve.
Thank you. Steve Brown, Mirae Asset Securities. Thank you.